Welcome to The Nation. I'm Gerard Ratnam. Malaysia's rubber industry has long been a backbone of our economy, but with shifting markets and rising sustainability demands, the real question now is where the industry goes from here, or where is it going from here? To help us explore that, I'm joined by Eizaaz Redzuan, Chief Executive Officer of the Malaysian Rubber Council. He joins us in the studio right here in Bernama. Eizaaz, thank you so much for taking time off, and I do understand you're a busy person, for being with us here today. Now, I'd like to begin with this, and a lot of us get it wrong up until today, and I'm not generalizing, but us Malaysians, Malaysia Rubber Board versus Malaysia Rubber Council, who does what?
All right, thank you very much, Gerard, for having me today. I think that is always a dilemma for everyone to understand, especially public at large, to know between the functions of these two arm of government's institution, which is Malaysian Rubber Board and Malaysian Rubber Council. Malaysian Rubber Board is basically a government agency that undertakes and monitors our activities in the upstream sectors. They are the one who involved in the plantation levels. And Malaysian,
just break it down for us. Upstream sectors, for those of us who don't understand what that means.
Upstream sectors is those who are involved in the plantation field, especially the smallholders, the institutional organization, the plantation-based companies. So these companies or smallholders that is involved in rubber plantation is monitored by Malaysian Rubber Board in principle. While Malaysian Rubber Council is companies limited by guarantee. It was incepted in year 2000, and this company was formulated and tasked with the mission to establish market promotion to ensure Malaysian rubber products are well recognized globally. So this is the main function of Malaysian Rubber Council, by which we monitors the downstream sectors, and the Malaysian Rubber Board, they monitors the upstream sectors. So that is the main difference between the functions.
Right, let's talk about the downstream sectors for a while. I'm guessing in the last 10 to 15 years, downstream sectors, or what comes under the Malaysian Rubber Council, now has diversified quite a bit. Can you talk to us about where it was and where it is?
We started as a primary raw material supplier around the world. We were once number one in the world to produce rubber raw material, but through industrialization we have already evolved from an upstream activities to a downstream primary activities. So currently where we are, we have shifted our function from a raw material supplier to a major high value product manufacturer.
How did that happen now? So which means we do more processing than we do and ideation and also innovation than plant rubber. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. So the amount of produced raw material that we have from our estates as compared to whatever requirement from our downstream sectors, the requirement at downstream is much more higher, so the imports are very much critical for this function, and our downstream sectors is contributing towards product innovation to ensure that we have diversification of products for rubber products to be exported globally.
Which brings me to this question. Malaysia is among the world's leading exporters of rubber products, especially when it comes to rubber gloves, and that was very apparent during COVID. Now, with global demand evolving, how do you see us staying competitive and expanding presence in, I guess, the international markets, to be more exacting?
Currently, of course, I think globally in terms of our export activities, we have exported for last year, or for example, if you look upon the projection of growth, the compounded annual growth rate between 2001 to 2024, the rubber products have already increased to 6.6% within that 24 years. And on average, annually, we have a growth rate of approximately 9% every year. And our total exports for rubber and rubber products last year in 2024, it was 33.5 billion ringgit. And the main contribution is actually from the rubber glove sector, as rightly said by you. Almost 40% of the total export activities are contributed by the rubber glove sectors. So of course, rubber glove is a very prominent, it's a very strategic industrial initiative that our exporters have undertaken. So I think we are currently at the best position to position ourselves as number one producer of sustainability and of course best produced rubber glove.
Right, with the numbers you've just given us, 33.5 billion, 9%, are these numbers healthy where Malaysia is at this point, or can we do better?
We can do better, of course. Of course, during the pandemic year of 2020 and 2021, we can see a black swan condition, by which at that moment, our figure in 2020 and 2021 recorded almost 60 billion of export revenues that we have gained from Malaysian market itself. So of course, I think where we are today at 33.5 billion is almost 50% cut from what we have achieved in year of pandemic. So I think if you look upon the ambitions of our sectors, our industry members, of course we aim to get higher, but nonetheless there are a lot of competitions that happening, there are a lot of geopolitical tensions. So we do hope that we can gain a better market share, especially to US market, European market, and of course ASEAN as a whole. And of course this has a lot of marketing and implementation at the Malaysian Rubber Council and the industry that we need to conduct to ensure our position is well recognized globally.
Now you talked about the ASEAN markets, you talk about America, of course. You know, with tariff mania, there's just so much to look at when it comes to getting into the American market or getting a decent share of the American market. Now there's ASEAN. Malaysia sits on the chair of ASEAN this year, and that's coming to a close very, very soon with some very good news, with hopefully the accession of Timor-Leste into ASEAN as the 11th member. With the market in ASEAN, with us sitting on the chair of ASEAN this year, has anything changed where you're sitting from your vantage point?
At this moment, because we can see that a lot of ASEAN countries are actually the producers of rubber products. So amongst ASEAN members, it is considered as, we can say that there are competitors countries, by which Thailand, Indonesia, Vietnam, these are all producing of rubber product countries, and Malaysia is one of them. But nonetheless, of course, leveraging on ASEAN chairmanship is something that, of course, we have currently undertake. There were multiple engagement we have done, especially with Indonesia, to see on the infrastructure development that is ongoing, especially on the changing of the capital. And I think that is the work in progress happening with Malaysian Rubber Council, bringing together our industry members to actually campaign together and to bring more our market share into ASEAN.
Right, so if you look at the markets or opportunities internationally and also the domestic market, what are the emerging trends this year?
Emerging trends this year, of course, I think we are looking upon strategic partnership and collaboration, especially with our internal stakeholders. We are ensuring and try to ensure that our manufacturers can gain more market share by getting sustainability on board, for them to get more ready, and especially in terms of complying with the EUDR requirements and so on. And of course, I think at this juncture, there are a lot of initiatives that we have taken in terms of market promotion activities, in terms of capacity buildings. So these are all the undertakings currently took by Malaysian Rubber Council with the help from Malaysian Rubber Board and the Ministry of Plantation and Commodity. So this is the way how we want to address, especially on the future game changes for global rubber products.
Eizaaz, I'd like to go back to the great lockdown or during the pandemic, or COVID-19 to be exact. Malaysia's rubber product exports soared due to, of course, high demand, and it was medical gloves. It was in the news every day. You know, looking for gloves was also very hard. Now the demand has for the lack of a better word, somewhat normalized. Now, how do you see the industry adapting to post-pandemic situation now that we're 5 years post-pandemic? Where do you see it going now?
As I quoted earlier, in year 2020, when the COVID-19 happened, we had a very a black swan condition, by which in that particular year 2020 we recorded 41 billion export. In 2021 we had 61.7 billion, and now at 2024 we reached 23.8 billion, which is 61% below what we achieved in 2020 and 2021. So the challenges that we are facing now is, of course, in terms of the market's volatility, amid trade disputes, geopolitical tensions, and of course climate changes. And as an outlook, the US tariff may reduce globally in terms of the GDP growth by 2.8% in year 2026 to 2027 as per Euromonitor. So what we are planning to do, and of course what we have been advocating to our industry members, number one, we have to diversify the market, for the reason that manufacturers cannot be over-relying too much on our single market, which is America. Number two, of course, we have to find new emerging markets, for example, like in South America, like in Egypt, like in South Africa, Colombia and Peru. So these are the territorial that we have less export, but there are a lot of opportunities there. That's number one. Number two, dependence towards rubber glove per se. It cannot be done that way, because we scored a lot during that pandemic year because of rubber glove. So now we need to diversify the products ranges. We had a lot of rubber products under our applications usage. We have more than 1,000 applications of rubber products, you know, with 330 members or industrial manufacturers that we have in Malaysia. And of course, we have to do a proper customers relation and branding, especially in terms of complying with the EUDR requirement, the sustainability, the compliance, especially on the environmental, social and governance, and upskilling and reskilling of workforce are also needed, especially to manage the post-pandemic effect to our rubber product
So when you say
sectors.
upskilling and reskilling of the workforce, what needs to change within the workforce post-pandemic?
Of course, number one, I think we have now moved into AI-based, machine learning, data management, automation, digitalization. So these are all the new buzzwords coming to the industry. And of course, I think from a manual-based processing facility, then we have to move towards digitization, application through data management, machine learning. So these are the reskilling and upskilling that we need, especially to ensure the human in every companies that we have, especially the manufacturers, are very well trained to adopt with the changes amidst whatever issues here.
You were talking about emerging markets. I'd like to go to or move to a country, or rather main export destinations for rubber products in there. So what's our biggest market at this point? The US?
It is. Our biggest market currently is US. So this is the 33% of our export actually goes to America. And the second largest export destination is actually EU plus 27. The third largest is China. The fourth largest is Japan. And the fifth largest is Singapore. So of course, US, Europe is something that we have to grip on, and we have to ensure that whatever requirement or regulations set by those authorities over there are being complied with our manufacturers.
Right, which brings in the next question. How do you manage the impact of Trump's tariff mania now? You know, every week or every hour, things seem to be changing for all of us around the world. How do you manage it? Because you're doing downstream, and we know the difference between what the Rubber Board does and what the Rubber Council does, and most of your work is marketing products or innovation. Now, with Trump and his tariffs, or his daily changing of ideas with regards to tariffs, how is the Rubber Council managing this and looking for more opportunities? I don't know if that's a valid question.
Yeah, it is a very valid question. Of course, I think people always ask us what would be the effect after the imposition of 19% of tariff towards Malaysia. I would say that comparatively between Malaysia, Thailand and Indonesia, we had the same level of tariff, which is 19%, while Vietnam, another competitor, they are having 20%. And China, which is also a very well-established competitor, and they are probably scoring around 30% of tariff, which is to be reviewed by November 2025. So I think this tariff, of course, has raised the prices across the board. And however, Malaysia is still competitive due to our equivalent or higher tariff imposed by US to another producing countries. And in terms of mitigating the market volatility, we have to diversify our export destination, not solely to US, and we have to find new emerging markets to ensure our products are being exported outside Malaysia. Number one. Number two, we have to ensure continuous efforts on our trade shows activities, especially to non-US market. although US is something that we can't lose, but nonetheless we should find another strategic market, to ensure our exporters are visible around there.
Trade shows actually help us. I mean, when we are at trade shows, how much does it help market whatever we are producing here or innovating, and does it help, how much does it help the Rubber Council?
That is to be reflected by the export figures, how much we recorded every year, because market promotion is one of the main functions or main mandates given to us. So of course, trade shows, for example, market visit, bilateral mission, multilateral missions, these are all missions that we carried together with our industry members. Normally we'll be incentivizing our industry members to go with us for all majority of the trade shows that we have around the globe. Some of the activities are conducted from our HQ office, which is based in Kuala Lumpur, and we do have regional office which is in Washington DC one. We have one more in India, another one in China. So in terms of the global participation for trade shows, of course it brings us a lot of exposure to us, and of course in terms of numbers, how many programs we have conducted. In HQ level, we have conducted minimum of 15 to 20 programs in a year globally, and by our regional office another 20 to 25 programs annually. So this has bring a lot of openings to our exporters, and that can be reflected through the export figures that we recorded every year.
Well, I'd like to move into ESG initiatives now. The Malaysia Rubber Council has been, or at least from what I understand, has been very active in its activities to ensure ESG compliance by the industry, or the rubber industry here in Malaysia. Now what, and I also once again don't know if this is valid, but what prompted the Malaysia Rubber Council to expand its role beyond just export promotion and focus on sustainability and ESG? And you have to simplify this for me.
Yes, Gerard, it was a very good question. Our initial mandate was very clear. Year 2000, we were given entrustment to help on the market promotion. But over the years, of course, things has changed. The evolution has brought us to where we are today. So of course, I think over the years, global buyers increasingly demand for sustainability and responsible supply chain. And it is a shift of demand from buyer's market that we need to comply with. And if we don't comply, then we couldn't get
shift of
access
demand
to the
from
market.
from a buyer's market. Right.
And of course, those buyer's market are the big region that we have to gain our market share. And more governments are introducing and enforcing sustainability policies and regulation, for example EU, and Alhamdulillah, at least with the current with the previous announcement made just few days ago, that there will be some deferment on the EUDR for another 1 year. So that is a good thing, that at least we can prepare better before it's being executed in 2027 probably. And
deferment on EUDR. Sorry, just simplify this for us, please.
Compliance in terms of the EUDR regulation. Supposedly it is to be enforced in 30th December 2025. So it's now being postponed for another year. So it will be only enforced probably on 30th December 2026.
So we've got like a brief respite, like we've got 1 year to figure out how we want
to get our ways and to ensure that we can comply with it. So of course, this compliance will avoid trade barriers and to ensure continued market access from our industry players to global markets. And to protect Malaysian share in key export market, we have to actively engage with Malaysian Rubber Board, because Malaysian Rubber Board has came up with MSNR, or Malaysian Sustainable Natural Rubber Framework, which would be a framework or a legal document to guide our upstream to downstream sectors in terms of the sustainably produced natural rubber in our industry. Yes.
Now let's talk about the 3 key ESG initiatives launched by the Malaysian Rubber Council. Can you briefly introduce them, or if you have to, simplify them for us?
So this is actually an initiative launched this year to address challenges faced by Malaysian rubber industry in adopting ESG practices and to navigate climate changes. So there are three things that we have introduced this year. Number one is a roadmap towards low carbon transition, which is actually to align with the industry and the national aspiration to reduce Malaysian greenhouse gas emission and reach net zero by 2050. And the second one is actually an ESG guideline, which is a very specific to our rubber industry guideline, and we have consolidated major global standards and requirements into a simplified framework for Malaysia rubber industry, especially the SMEs, to start adopting ESG in their business activity. And of course, the Strike Fund is also something that we launched this year, which is actually a fund to hire sustainable officer in every industry members that we have in the organization. The reason why we wanted to have that is so that this representative or sustainability officer incentivized by Malaysian Rubber Council can help to assist the company to work with our consultant to ensure that the adherence or the compliance to ESG and whatever requirements from sustainability point of view.
Right. YB Minister Johari has also stressed that the need for Malaysia's rubber industry to move up the value chain. From a product perspective, how is the MRC encouraging innovation and also, I think, diversification to ensure Malaysia remains competitive globally? Now, moving up that value chain. So once again, you're a subject matter expert. You need to simplify that for us.
Yes. We have to applaud Datuk Seri Johari Ghani for this effort, and he has already requested us to actually move up and to scale up the value chain in terms of the product innovation and so on. And I think at Malaysian Rubber Council we have already have in our portfolios two major funding facilities. One is actually Industrial Linkage Fund 2.0, which has been launched this year, and the second one is actually Malaysian Rubber Council Commercialization Fund, which is also a fund under our portfolio. So these funding facilities is actually to educate and to facilitate our product R&D and to accelerate commercialization of our new products or technologies. So Industrial Linkage Fund 2.0 is to enhance the competitiveness of our Malaysian rubber industry in the global market, and of course it is by way of funding and to support relevant research development for pre-commercialization project focus on new or improved rubber related products. And these fundings allow the companies to claim for SMEs 70% to be claimed from Malaysian Rubber Council, and for big and large corporations about 50% they can claim back from us for these funding facilities with a maximum of 300,000 per year. While for commercialization program to commercialize the R&D, this one also MRC has provided a funding facility by which we give 70% for SMEs and 50% for large corporations, and the value is much more higher, which is 500,000 per company.
Right. I'd like to move into what's going to be happening in the next 1 to 3 years. Now, how do you see Malaysia's rubber industry performing over the next 1 to perhaps 3 or 5 years?
Of course, I think...
And be very honest with us as to where you see this going.
Yeah. I think based on the observation from Euromonitor, for example, we have seen the global economy expected to have a very slowdown from this year, 2020, from last year even, 2024, 2025 and 2026, by which the global economy last year it went to 3.3%. This year is going around 2.9%, and next year projected to be around 3%. So there is a lot of uncertainties, there's a lot of risk, especially on the US trade policy, weak sentiment in US and in EU, and of course there are also geopolitical tensions happening around the globe. So I think it will be further deteriorate due to slower economic growth and of course rising recession risk, leading to more cautious behavior of purchasers or buyer. So I think the only way to mitigate some of these risks and challenges is to develop and to ensure we involve into more matured markets and to ensure our participation in emerging markets.
Right, we've got 1 minute. Very quickly, tell us what's it like for you? What's the pressure like for you as the CEO of the Malaysia Rubber Council, seeing a sort of a, unless something great happens, the next 5 years is about sustaining. What's it like for you? 1 minute.
Of course, I think sustaining this industry is important, because this industry has been for almost half a century, so we can't lose it. This is one of the pioneer commodity that we had, and the evolution that we had from an upstream to a downstream sectors, we have done tremendous in terms of the contribution made by the rubber products industries. So I think to keep sustain and to ensure that we are there, positioned well in the market, global market, we need to ensure that we equip ourselves with a better product innovation. We have a better solution in terms of complying to all the global requirements, especially EUDR or whatever foreign governments' expectations towards exporters. And we have to ensure that we have new strategy to invest into developments of market, for example, trade participation and so on.
Right. Thank you so much, Eizaaz. It was a pleasure and an honor speaking to you, and I wish you all the best, and we hope for the rubber industry to see a brighter future, especially around the world, given the geopolitics and the economic instability. We see just mushrooming everywhere. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
As the sector adapts to new markets, sustainability demands, its challenge is also opportunity to remain a vital driver of livelihoods and national growth. I'm Gerard Ratnam. Thanks for watching The Nation, and follow us for more in-depth conversations on topics that matter. Take care. Bye-bye.